Chandler Henley, the new run game specialist. Chandler Henley is best known as a tight ends coach from his Yale days, 2015 to 2017. What's currently reported most recently, the Miami Dolphins run game specialist, is expected to join the Los Angeles Chargers coaching staff. Separately, his tight ends coach title is tied to Yale, where he coached TEs after returning to his alma mater in 2015. Executive Snapshot. Chandler Henley's football signature is versatility inside run-heavy, wide-zone ecosystems. He has coached or worked closely with tight ends, Yale. Offensive line, Titans QC focusing primarily on OL, Falcons assistant OL coach. Quarterbacks, Dolphins assistant QBS coach. Run game design/structure. Dolphins run game specialist, promoted in 2025. He also has a rare pre-coaching background in corporate sales, IBM, Google, and NBC Football Night in America research, which shows up in how often he's described in process/detail/communication terms. Henley was a productive Yale wide receiver and a leader on the 2006 Ivy League championship team, serving as the sole captain. Stats note: small discrepancy across official-ish sources. Yale staff bio lists 110 receptions, 1,609 yards, 11 touchdowns. A Yale football record book lists him with 115 receptions, 1,633 yards, 11 touchdowns. It's common for different publications to reflect updates/corrections, but either way, he's clearly in the upper tier of Yale all-time receiving production. Coaching career. Timeline with what he was doing and why it matters. 2012 to 2014. Vanderbilt, offensive/recruiting GA to assistant QBS responsibilities. At Vanderbilt, Henley worked on offense and recruiting, and by 2014 also had assistant QB responsibilities. Notable program/offense markers referenced in official bios. Vanderbilt's back-to-back 9-win seasons, 2012 to 13. Yale bio says his WR group led SEC units in receptions/yards/TDs, and RB plus WR groups combined for 31 TD, 2013. Vanderbilt Factbook notes a 30.1 points per game offense and a 41-point bowl win benchmark during his GA tenure. Why this matters? Early in his career, he wasn't only a TE guy. He had WR/RB/QB exposure right away, plus recruiting. Early 2015, Holy Cross, brief RB coach stop mentioned in Yale bio. Yale's staff bio states he left Vanderbilt to become Holy Cross RB coach early in 2015, then returned to Yale. 2015 to 2017. Yale, tight ends coach. This is where the tight ends coach Chandler Henley label is most directly true. Key markers. Yale went 9-1 in 2017 and won its first outright Ivy League championship since 1980, Dolphins Media Guide. He mentored TE Jaden Graham, who earned first-team All-Ivy and later played in the NFL. Player development anecdote, useful because it's first person. In a 2021 interview, Jaden Graham said Henley was the first coach to tell him he could play in the NFL if he worked hard enough, and described a long-standing relationship where they stayed in touch. 2018 to 2020. Tennessee Titans, offensive quality control, primarily OL. The Dolphins Media Guide explicitly says he worked primarily with the offensive line in Tennessee. It also highlights the Titans' run game productivity during that period. Titans averaged 144.5 rushing yards per game across his 3 seasons, 2018 to 20. 2020, Titans were second in rushing, 168.1, tied second in total offense, 396.4, fourth in scoring, 30.7, and sixth in fewest sacks allowed, 25. Derrick Henley won Offensive Player of the Year after rushing for 2,027 yards. Why this matters? QC is an in-the-weeds role. Heavy film breakdown, opponent tendency work, practice prep. That's often where assistants build real schematic fluency. Divi Tukstoshi Divdesmit Viens, Atlanta Falcons, Assistant Offensive Line Coach. The Dolphins media guide notes he worked with a young OL and cites Matt Ryan passing for 3,968 yards. Cordarrelle Patterson totaling a career-high 1,166 yards from scrimmage. The Falcons' official announcement also frames him as coming from Tennessee and ties his OL work to the Titans' run game production. 2022 to 2024. Miami Dolphins, Assistant QBS Coach to Senior Offensive Assistant. Henley joined Miami as Assistant Quarterbacks Coach in 2022. The 2023 Dolphins media guide credits the QB room with Tua Tagovailoa leading the NFL in passer rating, 105.5, in 2022. Dolphins finishing 6th in total offense, 364.5 yards per game, and improving scoring offense from 22nd to 11th. By 2024, he had been promoted to Senior Offensive Assistant, noted in the 2025 promotion reporting. 2025. Miami Dolphins, promoted to Run Game Specialist. NBC Sports/Pro Football Talk reported that Miami promoted him from Senior Offensive Assistant to Run Game Specialist, citing CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones. That same report adds a key relationship detail. Henley and Mike McDaniel were teammates at Yale, both playing receiver. 2026, reported. Expected Chargers hire. Reports state the Chargers are expected to add him to the staff after his Dolphins Run Game Specialist stint. What his offensive identity looks like, based on his trail of roles plus what he teaches publicly. Wide zone is not a guess. It's something he's taught as a clinic topic. Henley has taught a course titled Early Down Philosophy, Why Wide Zone Wins, covering zone reads, RPO/wide zone, and It Takes 11 Concepts, course description plus lesson list. This matches the ecosystems he's been in. Titans, 2018 to 20. Run game success emphasized in team bios. Arthur Smith staff, Titans OC to Falcons HC, continuity thread in his career path. Dolphins under McDaniel, who is widely identified with Shanahan-style wide zone structures. Henley's internal Dolphins promotion to run game specialist is consistent with that background. What wide zone emphasis typically signals, and why a TE coach background fits. This part is inference, football logic, not a direct quote. Wide zone systems tend to demand that tight ends can do more than run routes. They often must. Set edges and handle difficult reach/sift angles. Execute split zone/sift blocks, insert actions, and motion across the formation. Sell play action and be crisp on boots, overs, seams, and crossers. Henley's resume is basically a loop through the roles that touch those areas. TE coach to OL focused, QC to assistant OL to QB assistant to run game specialist. If you're evaluating him specifically as a tight ends coach, what the evidence actually shows. 1. He has been a true TE position coach and did it on a championship team. He was Yale's tight ends coach from 2015 to 2017, including the 2017 season that ended with an outright Ivy title. 2. He's gotten TE-specific praise from an NFL TE he coached. Jaden Graham's interview comments are revealing because they're about mentorship plus projection, Henley identifying an NFL pathway early and pushing a player toward it. 3. His later NFL roles strongly suggest TE coaching would be run-game integrated. Even when he wasn't labeled TE coach, he was working in the areas that tight ends live in. OL-centric run game and protection detail. Titans QC, Falcons assistant OL. QB/run game structure and early down philosophy. Dolphins assistant QBs, run game specialist. So if someone calls him a tight ends coach today, the cleanest way to say it is position coach TE experience. Yes, Yale. Recent NFL title. Run game specialist/offensive assistant roles, not TE coach, publicly reported. Why teams keep hiring him, the pattern. Cross-position fluency. His path is unusual. WR/RB/QB exposure at Vanderbilt, TE at Yale, OL focus QC in Tennessee, OL assistant in Atlanta, QB assistant and run game specialist in Miami. That's valuable in modern offenses where tight ends are asked to align attached/detached. Motion, run choice routes, and be central to the run game. Trust within the McDaniel orbit. Henley's Dolphins promotion report explicitly notes he and McDaniel were Yale teammates. That matters because run game specialist is often a trust-heavy job. You're shaping weekly priorities and the connective tissue between OL/TE/RB/QB. A profile that blends analytics plus communication. Again, not hype, but documented background. He worked in sales, IBM/Google, and did NBC Football Night in America research before/around entering coaching. That kind of background often translates well to teaching progression, QB work, communicating run game rules simply, and handling the volume of detail in QC/run game roles. What I'd watch for next, if your interest is about tight ends usage/results. Because his newly reported Chargers role has been described publicly as a staff addition, not a clearly announced TE title hire. The best watch list is about on-field fingerprints. More TE involvement in the run fit. More movement blocks, sift/slice/split zone, and TE/wing actions that complete wide zone. Play action structure that marries run plus TE routes. Over routes, seams, and leak concepts tend to pair naturally with wide zone identity, inference, but consistent with the scheme he has presented publicly. Development signals. Who takes a leap in the TE room? Blocking consistency, assignment clarity, and situational usage.